Hey, what's up guys, this is Emmanuel again with Dimension Photography, and today we have a great tutorial coming up which focuses on one of the most important things in photography, which is sharpening. And we're going to make sure that we go through everything from how to make sure that your photo stays sharp in camera, and then also throughout the whole editing process in Photoshop and Lightroom. There's different ways where you can sharpen it to make sure that your pictures come out crisp like they should be. Alright, so, and also if this is your first time checking out the channel, I want to thank you so much and want you to consider subscribing, because every Friday we have different tips, tricks, and tutorials on everything photography, from editing to shooting to settings. So if you subscribe, then you'll get the notification, and then every Friday you'll learn something new which you can implement in your photographic workflow. Okay, so let's get right into it guys. You already know. Alright guys, so let's get right into it. So today we're going to touch up on different styles and ways that you can sharpen your image. And it's pretty much up to you how you want to do it, depending on the program that you use and what kind of style is a little bit better for you. But I'll show both in Lightroom and also in Photoshop, and then you guys make the ultimate decision. Okay, so first I'm going to show you in Lightroom, and I'm going to use different images just so that we can see pretty much what's going on. So the first thing that we're going to say is when it comes to sharpening, I'm going to give an example here. I'm just going to use my face. The first thing that you want is that the picture has to be in focus. It has to be in focus. So what does that mean? You need to check where your focus is placed. So even in this picture, when you see, yes, the picture of my face, yeah, it looks pretty decent, but the focus is off. The focus should always be, especially on a portrait, it should be on the eyes. Pretty much on the eyes. That would be the sharpest. That shows that everything is good. And depending on the aperture that you're using, I won't go into aperture lesson, but depending on which one you're using, just make sure you understand your camera, but always set the focus point to the eyes. That way you make sure that you get as much of the face sharpened. You see here, it's not really sharp. So yes, you can sharpen it a little bit, but you cannot save the image. A blurry image will always be blurry. Sharpening is just to help add the extra contrast and make it look super crisp after you edit it. So if you see the next picture, here, now the sharpening is right where it's supposed to be. You see the eyes, everything's clear. Okay, you have my face. Everything's in order, not like the previous picture, which did not have sharpening. Okay, so let's go into it, into the different styles that you can sharpen first in Lightroom. Then we're going to choose this picture just so you can kind of get an idea. So the different ways that you can sharpen, first of all, there is what they call here, when you go down to presence in the basic settings, is the clarity. Now clarity, what I want you to understand is this is kind of a way to blur and sharpen, but it's very selective and it's more of like a grungy edit. So if you see here, if I bring it down, okay, it's blurring it out. Obviously we don't want to blur, we want to sharpen. So if we bring it up, it gets very sharpened. Now the thing with this is that when it sharpens it, and also seems to kind of like dinge it and darken it a little bit, which is usually what we don't want. This brings out, when it comes to like a face edit, it brings out a lot of, you know, the pores and things. There's a lot of things that we don't really want. So I'll show you really quick, even on my face. So here, if you see, if you do it on a portrait like this, you bring it in. Okay, you kind of get that clear, nice look, but we want to sharpen it. So when you bring it up, you can see what it does. It kind of grunges, it makes the highlights, it makes it look crunchy. So I don't recommend this. This I would recommend more with architecture, and if you're trying to go for that style, But when it comes to sharpening, that's not the way. Okay, let's go back to my flower. So what you really want to do is, when you scroll down, went too far. You get to detail. So this is the detail section. And detail, there's sharpening, and then there's noise reduction. So here with sharpening, this is usually every picture has a certain amount of sharpening already added to it, but here you can add more. So if you look at the image, this adds basic sharpening, but what really makes this good is understanding the different settings. So here the radius, what radius does with sharpening is that it makes the outline, as you know, sharpening is basically the edges. You make the edges a bit more bold, a bit more contrast, it sharpens it, right? So the radius makes that edge bigger. So I'll give you an example. If you hold down Alt and click, you see how it kind of gives a high pass. So when you look at the different edges, you can see how big it is. This is at 0.7. If you lower it, it goes down. If you bring it up, the edges just become a lot more pronounced. Okay, so that's what the radius does. Then the detail, same. If you alt click, you can see a little bit more detail. Just pretty much shows where exactly do you want it. Sometimes if you lower it, it chooses less of the corners, less of the image, and when you go up more, it brings up a lot more. So that, like, let's say if there's a sky, a clear blue sky, you might want to bring it down, not too much. If there's buildings, yeah, you do want to bring it up. And then the best part about this is the masking. So masking, what it is where is the sharpening added. So when you alt click, you see here, whatever's in white, that's where sharpening is being added. So if masking is at 0, the sharpening is being added everywhere. As you bring it in, whatever's in black is not being sharpened. Only the white is being sharpened. So here, let's say you only wanted to really sharpen out the edges, then this is only going to affect the very important lines and the edges, right? So why would this work better? Why is the masking so important? I'll show you when I go back to my face. Here, when you go into masking, everything's being sharpened. You don't want the background, you don't want the noise sharpened. Look at the background. You don't need all that. So what you want to do is you want to bring this in, and now it's solely focusing on my face. But I also don't want to get all the pores. I don't want to get, you know, the beard. So when you bring it in, now look where the sharpening is focused. And that's really where you want it. You want the eyes, you want a little bit the nose, the lips. When you have this type of sharpening and you bring it up, a little bit more detail, it just gives it, it's very a crisp way of sharpening. So the masking is, I think, the greatest thing that we have here when it comes to Lightroom. Okay, guys, so that's the basic, that's the real way of sharpening. There is other ways that you can sharpen in Lightroom, which are unconventional, but it's good for you to know. The one way is when you export a picture. Let's say I want to export this, right? You go to export, a normal export. You go down into the settings where it says output sharpening. Then output sharpening says sharpen for screen, matte paper, glossy paper. And it gives you the option of standard, low, or high. I usually do it for screen because most of my images go on the web. And standard is pretty much basic because I really don't want it to add too much to what I already did, because when I did it, I think it looks good like that. Makes sense. But if you are going to print it on a different kind of paper, definitely matte paper, glossy paper, you want to specify it because there's a different way that the ink prints out, and it adds to that sharpening, right? It affects that sharpening. Good. Okay, so that's the one way. And then the other way is actually when you go to print. So when you go to the print, which you might not use, but actually I use it. When I print my photos, I do it directly from Lightroom. If you scroll down, there's a part that says print resolution and print sharpening. So here, print sharpening, then media type again, right? Is it matte paper? Is it glossy? And then also low, standard, and high. So those things, you kind of have to play with it depending on your printer, depending on your images, which one works best, which one looks better. Okay, but just play around with it, and those are really good ways also to sharpen. It might add a little bit more if it was missing, or if you didn't add any sharpening to the image and you just add the sharpening from printing, it usually does a really good job. So this is the way that you can do it in Lightroom. Okay, guys, so let's go back here. Now the image, so I showed you the different ways of sharpening. You saw how I did the flower, why it's important for portraiture. Also, when you see landscape, you kind of just get an idea of what sharpening does. And when you see something like this in a picture, it's not going to be sharpened. That's what I mean about making sure everything's sharp, right? But the focus is here. So again, if we go down to our details panel, okay, as you see here, everything is being sharpened. So we bring this up a little bit, bring up the radius, bring up the detail. So you can see it does a big difference, a huge difference on how it's actually sharpening here when it comes to landscapes. It's very important, that's why, to understand the kind of sharpening that you want and the kind of image that you are using. Okay, perfect. Then here, let's go into how to sharpen in Photoshop. So we're actually going to use this image here, just because I'm smiling. Okay, here we go. So we do have this image. Alright, so we have this image here. So first what I'm just going to do is just Control J, make a layer, copy a layer of it. So the first way of sharpening, when you go to filter and you go to sharpen. So there is smart sharpen. Like I mentioned, there's different ways of doing it. It just all depends on what you like and what works best for you. So let's go to the eyes. Ooh, sorry about that. Okay, usually the eyes is where you can see better the sharpening. Okay, so then here is the same. Basically what the Smart Sharpen does is that it removes the blur that's on the image, and that's what makes it sharper. Okay, so here when you go to amount, it's just pretty much the same. You bring the amount up, you bring the radius up. Okay. Oh, sorry, my computer's a little bit slow. Actually, let me cancel that. I always forget to do this. To lower the image size, this is kind of a quick way to avoid a slow editing process. Okay, let us start again. So you go to filter, sharpen, and smart sharpen. Okay, smart sharpen, to be honest, I do not use it. Just because there's other ways. All right, what's going on? There we go. Okay, so if you see here, when you click the preview button, it's going to show you the difference between having the filter on and having it off. So I'm just going to hit OK. So you can see there's definitely a subtle difference when you use it. Okay, I'm going to leave it off and Control J, and as you see, I really don't use Smart Sharpen as often. It just doesn't seem like it's working too well. The other one that I do definitely use is the next one, which is Smart, and is Unsharp Mask. So Unsharp Mask is pretty simple. It's the amount of sharpening that you want. So you see, you blast it up, it also gets crunchy. You don't want to do that. I usually leave mine around a good 70%. And then the radius, you want to check. And you see how it just gets deeper? So you don't want to go too deep. You just want to go right before it starts getting weird. And then you bring it down some. Okay, if you click the preview button, you can actually see the difference right on the image. And that does a great job on its own. So it's very easy to use. And then the last one, which is the high pass filter, which a lot of people explain. And it's, you would go to filter, other, and high pass. Now what it does is it adds this high pass filter, which just captures the edges. So this is a little bit too much. You usually want to bring it down to where you only see the detail that you want. And this is it's usually very subtle. So somewhere like this, right? You can use something like that. It's not too strong. All right, and let's hit OK. So this one actually, it doesn't work by itself. What you need to do is change the blending mode, which is here. You would either use overlay, soft light, or hard light. Overlay is the basic one. Soft light is if you want it a little bit softer. Hard light is if you want it a little bit stronger. So you go to overlay. If I click, you can see how it adds it and takes it off. And the good thing about all of these filters is that if it's too strong, you can always lower the opacity of the said layer just to get it at the right spot. Okay guys, so that's the 3 different ways that you can do also sharpening when it comes to Photoshop, and then the other ways to do it in Lightroom. Like I mentioned, all ways are good. It just depends on you, how you want to do it, and which one works better for your photography. Alright guys? Alright guys, so as you saw, basically the first and most important thing when it comes to sharpening your images is make sure that you have your focus on point. Make sure that you're focusing on the right spot, using the right aperture, getting all the right settings in, alright? That's the main and most important thing. After that, then as you saw, obviously through editing, there's many ways where you can do it, through Lightroom, through Photoshop. It all depends on your editing style, which program you use, and what effect you're looking to get. Alright guys, so I hope you definitely enjoyed today's tutorial. Maybe you learned something. If there's another way that you know how to sharpen, or maybe another tip, why don't you leave it below in the comments. That way we can share it together. And if not, I just do want to thank you so much for checking out today's tutorial. And again, as you already know, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That way you can get different notifications every week with different content that we have here on Dimensions Photography. And then why don't you give it a thumbs up if you did like it, and share it with some family members, some friends, if you think they would also enjoy this content. Alright guys, until next time, this is Emmanuel with Dimensions Photography, where we help you take your photography to higher dimensions. And I'll snap at you later.